Welcome back, few ladies and gentlemen. This is exactly what it looks like when you invest a huge amount of money in a car that was raped by previous mechanic and a bit by Mother Nature. 20k are just enough to fix a lot of it, but not all of it. Grab yourself a cold beer because I have found a lot of new issues. Maybe you remember, on the beginning from the video I told you I have some troubles with transmission. It was fourth and fifth gear, the torque lock up. It wasn't locking properly. Well, it was locking properly, but as soon as you apply a throttle, it kicked out and I had that stupid feeling in a transmission. So the problem is in this torque converter up there inside. This one will be removed and will be sent away to overhaul it. There will be installed a new clutch package, and with that setup this problem will be gone. This is a common problem on 5 HP 30 transmissions, and it is, let's call it, easy fix. I don't need to do anything from the inside because inside is still fine. I don't have any shift problems with this transmission, and this oil, well, it is not fresh, but it isn't that black as it used to be. Do you know what is the best part about old cars? With the time you get Bluetooth stuff, like those transmission mounts. They are actually Bluetooth right now because there is a huge gap. Maybe you can see it. Yep. As soon as I raise up the transmission, I saw they are completely loose. So yes, it is working via Bluetooth. Thankfully this is street car and not a off-road car, otherwise this transmission would do all that, you know. But let me show you something. I was able to remove all the stuff from this side, from there. I have loosed all 4 torque converter screws. You need to lose them. You don't want to leave your torque converter on your engine because you will have huge amount of oil on the floor if you leave it on the engine. You need to disassemble all that wire harness and you need to remove a lot of screws somewhere up there, and they are pain in the ass to get there. Trust me, they are really pain in the ass to get there. But thankfully I have big hands and it is hard time to get there, but you know, somehow they are flexible and I am able to reach them. Yeah, it is the time to lower the transmission. Some idiot told me it is not possible to remove it with the engine in the car. Well, to that idiot, you will see in a second it is possible. I still have 2 screws holding the transmission. This one is heavy, so you need to take care where you put your transmission holder because you don't want to have 10 kilos more in the back or in the front. If this transmission does that, you are not able to catch it. Trust me. This one will be tricky and funny, but it is doable. You know what I'm hoping for? I'm hoping that I didn't forget anything from above, because if I did, I will have a huge problem. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, disconnect the battery. You see, I told you. It is a Bluetooth connection. I think I'm good. I think I am ready. Yeah, it is moving. It is coming. Torque converter is still in. So now it is the time to move that away just a tiny bit more. So it looks fine to me. Yeah! Hell yeah! So that's the beast. My ex-boss was able to raise it with one hand on a shoulder, and with another hand he did it, he installed it alone in the car. Let me show you how this transmission looks like. It is almost completely dry. Almost. Well, there are no leaks, but she is kinda starting to get some leaks. I do have service kit for it, so it means I will change all the gaskets from all the sides. And of course, brand new oil. Well, if you believe in God, pray for me right now to get this transmission off safely without breaking anything and to remove this torque converter easily. Yeah, this will be a tricky one. I'm not using my muscles because I need them. So it is all safe in the front and in the rear. So I can just drop it off. It's not more on a transmission stand. It means it is hanging on the chassis, and right now there will be a special table for this transmission because I need to open it from another side and change all that stuff. And now just easily lower your car, and that's it. You will lose a small amount of oil down there. I just place some towel, and torque converter is easy stuff. Just pull it off. Well, it's not easy, but just pull it straight off. Just like that. In the next step, it will be time to remove this flywheel and to change the gaskets on the block on the rear side and to change the rear main seal in order to seal it properly because it is not leaking. The only issue is this one up there is not more available. It means I'm gonna need to do it myself. I wanna use the time right now to change them all because right now is a great access to all these gaskets and parts in order to prevent all that possible leaks in the future. And if you look carefully, you will see that this seal is kinda letting some oil out and it is not sealing 100% properly anymore. Well, after 150,000 kilometers, it is possible. I mean, it's not that bad, but why not to use the time right now and just fix it? Because I know it is karma. If I don't do it now, this one will catch me as soon as the gearbox is on and it will leak like hell. And this is actually the upper piece that I was talking about. There is a seal under it, not available anymore, and they are also sometimes prone to leak there. Not much, but a small amount is just enough. And now let's just get it off. Right now this is gonna be a huge splash, so prepare yourself for a nice shower. I am pretty sure that a lot of you kinda like my content because I always find a way how to fix something or how to create something. Actually, the gasket for this cover is not more available new anywhere. All you can buy is cork. Cork is shit. Cork is not working with those kind of engines, and I bought few from these L-ring papers used originally for these gaskets, and right now I'm gonna, well, yeah, handmade it and make sure that this one is leak free again. And of course, before you do all that, measure your old gasket. Make sure you have around the same thickness. We do have 0.5 millimeter, so I took the same paper and right now gonna cut it and all that stuff in fast motion. Well, I'm pretty sure that this one will be fine. I'm gonna do the copy paste right now of it because I need the same one for the CSI engine that I'm still working on, and of course CSI V12 has the same engine block almost, and all these gaskets are absolutely the same. With a handmade gasket, it is the time to place it on the block, but first I need some screws. All tight right now. But you know what? This upper one is gonna be a huge pain in the ass because there is a screw or two of them sitting on the top of it, and of course there are some O-rings down there on that other side, and as you can see these ones are kinda leaking already just a bit, and this car had issue with a low amount of water. I got the message on the display all the time, so I think I need to address all that to make those water leaks just go away. It is now or never, because I'm not planning to take this engine out. But with a transmission outside, it is the only way. So those fingers gonna have a hard time, but after that, all of these gaskets are gonna seal 100%. So let's give it a try. Seems easy so far. I was afraid of that. Actually, there is a water pipe running from here all the way up to the front. And guess on which end is it loose? Of course, in the front, because no one was ever here and no one touched this one right here, this gasket inside, and now it is stuck. Fuck me. Yeah. And the last clamp. Well, guess what? Yeah, I made it. And right now I'm even able to change this O-ring inside, because this one is the first one and I am 100% sure that this one was leaking just a bit. But that's enough to lose a coolant. And losing coolant is always hard to find. On this area is so goddamn hot, and this water what gets out, it's gonna evaporate directly, and it is really hard to find such a leaks. So yeah, and I already found something. So you may guess that this is not normal. No, it isn't. It is missing a piece from this gasket right there. But to prove that this one was leaking, this is the screw that was mounted right there. And it was a bit hard to get it out, and this screw was keeping the water inside. This gasket allowed it to run all the way in this hole, and only this small shim was holding it inside. Well, not 100%, but it made it somehow. I am really happy that I decided to do that. The other side is looking fine, and there was no that huge leak. So this water line is clean again. Brand new gaskets, brand new screws, and something else. Liquimoly silicone grease. I use this grease on all these rubber gaskets because it is thin and it keeps those rubber alive for many years. In 10 years, if someone is gonna have leaks on the same spot, and with this grease it is gonna be easy to remove all that parts away from this line. With that being said, I am pouring it from the inside, making sure we have enough, because this is not RTV. RTV can get in your water, in your channels, in your stuff. RTV can block some stuff in your engine, but this grease is not able to block because it never gets hard, always stays soft. And this gasket will benefit for many years. And after you install it, you will see that there is some grease coming out from the sides. It is all normal. Just make sure you apply it on all the sides and you are ready to go. This time I'm using some Mike Sanders on the screws because this will prevent rust, and this one will help to the next owner, maybe in few years, if he is gonna need to take them off. It's not gonna be that pain in the ass. 10 Newton meters. Tell me something. What do you think? How good or bad does this engine sounds without any exhaust? Should I try that out? It is Sunday. People are sleeping. And you know what? I don't give a shit for it, because I'm still working. Will be done. Just a moment. Some small stuff needs to be addressed. And after that... with a water gaskets being done, I'm gonna change the last two gaskets on this rear main seal, and it should not be any issue. The only issue right here is that you have a oil pan gasket between them. In order to keep this gasket alive, try to get this cover from the top side somehow off and not from the bottom side. Because if you start on the bottom side, you are gonna destroy your lower gasket 100%. You can see it right here. The gasket is not damaged. It is only the cover that's left, and all that gasket on the bottom is still there, and it is not damaged. When you take off that seal from the crankshaft, you will see a small notch on the sealing surface. The problem is this surface is getting worn out with the time, and in order to keep that all sealed again, you need to install your seal 1 millimeter deeper in this area. What it means, this seal is actually 1 millimeter facing outside, and I'm gonna install it to be flat with this cover in order to get this tiny lip 1 millimeter more inside. And with that setup, that lip is not gonna sit on this edge right here, it's gonna be 1 or 2 millimeters on a fresh new surface. And with that setup, it's gonna seal 100%. Just go ahead and bang that old seal out. Old one versus new one. There is a narrow on a new one showing the rotation direction. You are not able to change it or to do something wrong. Just go ahead, put a small amount of oil on this surface and carefully install it in. Of course, using that big boy. That's it. It is easy and simple. And again, small amount of silicone grease. This one's gonna help to prevent any damage by installing all that back together. So I wish myself a good luck. So the spring is still sitting in. Yeah. What I did right now, I have tightened these screws with only 5 Newton meters in order for this cover to pull itself down to the oil pan and a bit to the engine block. After that, use 10 Newton meters and tighten all the rest of it, making sure that you start with these lower ones first, because you want to get this cover as lowest as possible on this gasket and not leaving any gap between this gasket and this cover. And for the 8mm screws you need 20 Newton meters. The next thing will be to install the flywheel, and after that I am gonna do something interesting, but not for the fun, just to make sure that all of that is sealing 100%. And after that I'm gonna install the torque converter and of course transmission. On the next day it is the time to install a flywheel. Don't forget to use some Loctite on your screws. And BMW says 120 Newton meters of torque for these screws. And now it's the time to drive home because my son has some ear pain and we need to visit hospital. That's the stuff when you have kids. In the next step I'm gonna change the seal for a torque converter in transmission, and on this one you don't want to make any mistake. You don't want to get any dirt inside of your transmission, and you don't want to make any damage on these bearings inside. So take your time. Let's clean the surface a bit. To get this security retainer out of the way, it is a bit pain in the ass, but it is doable. All you need is to block one side with this kind of tool, take the other side outside. There are no special tools for this and you need to help yourself. The easiest way how to get it out. Do not use any brake cleaner to clean the surface. Leave it as it is. Just use a normal cloth and whip that all out. Brake cleaner will dry out all that bearings. They are mounted directly behind that seal, and if you dry them out, well, you know what happens next. Distance ring back into place and brand new original BMW gasket. It has to sit 100% straight, otherwise it's not gonna seal correctly. Do not push this seal way too far in, because there is no possible way to take it out in one piece again without damaging it. Make sure you go step by step and just leave a small amount of space for this spring inside of it, because this spring is actually holding this seal inside and keeping it from that huge pressure that the oil pump sitting right here is producing all the time. I have 5.5 millimeters on all these sides, and it is time to put this spring retainer back in place. Yeah, sitting just fine. Of course I'm gonna clean it up, because this is not pig's car. I am happy with that. And before I install that torque converter back into place, I'm just gonna spray a bit of special oil for this transmission on that bearing inside in order to keep it lubricated before we attempt to start it or to turn it by hand. Can you tell me who is doing this kind of stuff? Have you ever met someone who did all that in order to prevent any small issue or damage on that transmission? Do you know anybody like that? Write me down in the comments. With the seal mounted, it is the time to clean it up a bit. Well, it's not that much dirty, but now I have a chance to clean it up, and that's the thing that I'm gonna do right now. Well, I'm happy with the result. Next side needs to be cleaned up, and this will be done off camera. Before I move on with the transmission, I would like to thank to ZF Darmstadt for repairing and refurbishing this torque converter. They have found out that this one has some worn clutch package inside of it. Well, they didn't found it. I was the guy who found the problem, and I sent it there to overhaul it. But in order to do it properly, this area right here was pretty worn out. It means they needed a new outside piece in order to fix it. They have changed the clutch, and of course they did a rebalance on it, because if you don't do the balance, you will have some stupid vibrations in your engine. Another very important tip before you install it: just make sure you put some oil in it, the special oil for that transmission, and when you pour that oil inside of it, you are gonna make sure that this one is not running dry for a few seconds, because oil pump needs a few seconds to pull that oil from oil pan, and this could cause, of course, some damage. What I like to do is just put 2 liters inside and you are ready to go. It says shake before use. You see, not talking shit this time. And it smells goddamn terrible. And yeah, this is original oil from ZF for these transmissions, because with that one, transmissions, they just shift and work properly. And I'm saying it again, before you install your torque converter, make sure you apply a bit of silicone grease or some kind of oil on this front end of it, because there is a seal, rubber seal. It is prone to go bad if you make any mistake or any stupid wrong move. So, we are in. But there is still something what you need to pay attention for, and this is actually a place of this torque converter inside of transmission. It means you need to measure from this surface right here to that surface how deep this converter is in your transmission. If you don't do that and you place it on your engine and you tighten those screws, if those teeth in the back are not all aligned with each other, you are going to fuck up your transmission. Trust me. I don't know, I haven't done it, but I saw the guys who did that, so. And if you are not sure what I am talking about right now, is actually a distance between that surface right here and the mounting surface on a torque converter. You need approximately 29 millimeters. What I have are 28.5 almost, and this is the way to go. But if you are not sure about that, it is meant that this area right here needs to have clearance when you install the torque converter back in. What that means actually is you don't wanna pull your torque converter with the screws into your transmission, because you are gonna destroy your oil pump. What I like to do is just to measure the distance between this area, because this is the area that I was measuring down there, and that area on the engine block. And what I have here are around 24 millimeters. It means I have still 4 millimeters clearance between flywheel and torque converter. I am ready to install it. Wish me luck for that one. So, transmission is in. It was a bit pain in the ass, but thanks to German engineers, they have calculated the exact amount of space you need to get it in or to get it out. So it fits great. Yeah, it means when you want to tighten all that screws, you really need a long piece of tool. Yeah, but it is what it is. Like some worn out women, they also need a long tool. And I'm gonna replace those transmission bushings because, as you can see, the old ones are Bluetooth mode. Actually, the new ones, original BMW part, is going in. It means those ones should last for another 20 years without any issue. Before you mount your transmission mountings, there is a nipple right here and right there, and these ones need to look to the back. Transmission finally completely back into place. And the torque converter screws, they need 45 Newton meters of torque. There are 4 of them. Don't tighten the first one completely down. Make sure you put them all with hand in the thread, and after that go one by one and tighten it down. All tight. If you have issues with your M73 engine and your crankshaft sensors are making some crazy codes, what you want to make sure is the distance between sensor and the flywheel. You need to have 0.55 millimeters. What you need is this BMW special tool. With that one you can measure the distance between transmission and your flywheel. We do have 32.3 millimeters, and you do the same on the sensor. Measure it like that. Make sure you go straight. Tight the tool down. Read it up. 31.8. Yeah, it means we have correctly 0.55 millimeters of a distance between sensor and the flywheel. It means this one will run properly because this is still the original one. I haven't changed them. But if you are changing them, make sure to measure that, because there are shims that you can buy from BMW in order to make sure that this distance is 100% correct. Otherwise, you're gonna have again codes, and this is the only way how to solve it. And before you install them in your transmission, make sure you blow the whole surface here with some compressed air, because this is actually a magnet and this one is collecting every piece of metal on it. Just a small nut from metal shaving will make sure that this sensor is not reading properly. Trust me how I know. All clean. Back into place. In this box is a service kit for 5 HP 30 transmissions. What you get is 7 liters of fresh oil, gasket, filter and some other small stuff, magnet, in order to do a service on that transmission. But you are not able to change the whole oil when you just change 7 liters. You have seen I have installed brand new torque converter, and for that I have bought another 9 liters of oil to flush that transmission completely. What that means, we still have old filter inside. I'm gonna pour all of that in transmission. I'm gonna run it a bit through all the gears in order to collect all that old oil, and with this oil I'm gonna flush it. After that I'm gonna remove that old oil and change the filter, change the gasket and pour again fresh oil, and this will be a nice way to clean the transmission. Maybe I'm not able to get 100% new oil because it's not completely overhauled, but at least 98% will be cleaned up, and this will be completely fresh fluid inside, and that transmission will run much better with that fresh fluid. And my son always willing to help me. No, give it. Always on a clean surface. Faster! I know the small guy is always afraid when I'm yelling, but that's normal when you are crazy dad like I am. Or am I not?
Yes, you are.
So, filling up transmission oil. On those older 5 high-speed 30 transmissions, the fill-up plug is actually in the middle. You should pour up the oil until it starts to come out from that screw. Close it, run the engine, let that oil to pool in torque converter, and after that you need to check your oil level, but do not allow your transmission to be any warmer than 40 Celsius degrees.
Time for a nice soundtrack.
For the brakes, I'm using almost everything from ATE. I have good experience with them. Rotors, handbrake stuff, lines, and I'm using brake pads from EVC because these are ceramic. It means there won't be that much dust for those Alpina wheels. What I have else is ABS sensor, because old ones are pretty worn out. This car was running hot all the time, so all that plastic insulation is completely gone. So this will be a nice upgrade. Don't buy original ones, they are 300 euros a piece, and Bosch is making the same product for BMW, and this one costs only 50 euros. So a plenty amount of money to save there. And of course, new springs and all that stuff for the handbrake system. And before I start with reassembly from the rear brakes, I think it is a time to clean these handbrake cables, because as you can see, a lot of grease. But this is all positive, because this kind of grease is making sure that these parts don't rust that quickly. I think I have done a nice job, but I have to hurry up because my wife will be there in 5 minutes. If she sees me cleaning, holy shit, she's coming. The time has come to reinstall these rear brakes again. I like to use a small amount of grease on all these parts. This small edge right here is actually the top side. And adjuster screw pointing with those teeth down. If you have troubles with your assembly, this is how it's supposed to look like. Brake pads ain't red anymore. And last piece of the mystery. Brake pad sensor. But we need to bleed the system first. You're asking yourself right now, why am I not done with a rear axle first? Well, it is easy. I need to send those shocks to a Poland, to a company who's gonna fix those, and it will take 2 or 3 weeks to fix them. And in that time, I can concentrate myself on the rear axle, on the front axle, on the rest on the car, and it needs to be quickly disassembled in order to send it there, and then they can take their time, 2 or 3 weeks. In all that time, I will be able to repair all the rest. So that's the plan. As I said earlier, brake hoses will be replaced, so I can leave this caliper hanging down right now. Grab yourself a big hammer and you know what's next? Keep trimming. Pop! Yeah, it is out. And the same goes for the left side. Magic! The front area is not so dirty, but we are gonna clean it with help from my son. This will be all shiny again. And after that, of course, again, coating. So I think we both deserve a credit because we managed to do something amazing. It is clean, it is all shiny, and it is all rust-free. That's the stuff I like. Rust-free, accident-free. And we are doing the same on a driver's side. And the driver's side is clean again. Tell me something, do you know anybody who is so obsessed to keep these cars so clean and to prevent any rust on them in the future by coating them on every edge of this chassis? Do you know anybody? Well, I know, it's hard to find such a person. People telling me that all the time. But I am happy to keep such a cars alive because rust-free, accident-free, first paint. This fender was never taken off. Check this out. It is all original after all these years. Amazing. If you are seeing me using gloves, I think it is a 1st April. Or could be that I'm sick. Yeah, I use them sometimes. I hate them, but sometimes when you have all that brake dust in your hands, it is ugly feel. But when I have oil in my hands, it feels just something what I like every day. So, let's move on. There is such a huge load on this spring right now, and I'm making sure that if something breaks down, it does not fly in my face. If it's gonna fly, it should fly, I don't know, hopefully in the air, but not in the face. Or even worse, in the car. Well, this kind of rubber is already falling apart. Do you still wonder why I still wanna fix all that stuff on this car? Check this out. This is a front shock. It is supposed to hold the pressure all the way up, and when you try to push it, it should give a decent amount of pressure. But this one is dead. Pushing it all the way down, not coming up, it means broken. It means worn out. It means you need to refurbish some stuff, even though this car has maybe 150,000 kilometers first. So as bad as it is the time to fix that. So this is definitely how your shock should not work. It is worn out and it is broken. And your rubber should not look like this. So it maybe looks great from the outside, but from the inside you should check all that parts and change them. Because if this rubber is missing or gone or completely vanished like this, when you hit a hole on the street and this one is not in there anymore, you know what's gonna happen. Your shock will go all the way in and it will be destroyed. Suspension parts, everything is brand new. Absolutely everything. The shocks have been repaired and they are looking goddamn great again as new. This is the rear right one. This was the old one. It was repaired, and the left one is already new. It was installed from the previous owner as these ones were still available maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Springs, I'm using Eibach springs because they are the best to lower the car for maybe 3 centimeters and to keep that comfort that we have already right now with those original springs. In the back and in the front, all of this is brand new and original BMW. It means made in Germany or made somewhere in Europe, best quality you can get. And when you see all these old parts, this is already done. The rear ones are gone. All of that could run a bit more, but it makes no sense. And all of that is going to be assembled right now. When you buy yourself brand new self-leveling shock for the rear axle, you should and you can bleed it before you install it in the car. All you need is this hose, the old hose, or you can use the new one, it doesn't matter, and you need proper oil for that system. Right now you're gonna hear this shock has a lot of air in it, and that's because it was overhauled. What I do before I install them back in the car, I use the proper oil for them, and after that I'm gonna pump it inside of it in order to get all that air out. Because these ones, they do not have bleeding points, it means they bleed out by themselves by driving, and it really takes long time to get all that air out. Just put that hose in the bottle, make sure nothing gets out, turn it upside down. It means you're gonna get fluid inside of your shock, and all that air is gonna go up logically, and it's gonna stay in the bottle. And all you need to do right now is to pull this shock in and out. And watch out for the sound. Every time when you hear that fart noise, it means this air is leaving the shock and it's going into the bottle. And now, this is not what BMW says to do. This is what I learned to do on these hydraulic systems, because it really takes a long time to get that air out, because logically the air is up here, and how the hell should that air go out? It is almost impossible to get it completely out. So, I don't have any more fart noises. It means there is no more air in the shock. And right now I can take that hose off and mount the spring and all that other stuff. Use a bit compressed air to clean that shaft in order there is no dust going right down there. Because if you get dust or stones or something huge inside of this area, this shaft is gonna get scratches and it's gonna leak out pretty soon. Clean out that boot. Borge, still the original manufacturer for these parts. In order to mount this spring properly with the upper bearing, you want to make sure that this pin is actually lined up with that lower mounting pin where the screw goes in. If you don't do that, you won't be able to mount it properly. You're gonna have to twist the shock in order to fit it into your lower control arm, and with doing that, these lower bushings are gonna go bad in quick time. Brand new self-securing nut. These springs are the lower as the original ones. It means you don't have that long stroke in them. You can just press him a bit down and you're gonna have enough tread to turn that nut on the shock right now down. Front shocks, almost the same as the rear, bit more complicated. First step, clean this area. Lower rubber. Do not use any kind of lubricants on this area. It is absolutely wrong. Let's compress that new spring. So the next step is to install the spring. Watch out for that cable. That's the expensive cable. With the spring in place, it is the time for the boot. After the boot, it is the time for the small bumper. Big washer. then the bearing, and then the last rubber bearing. And on the end, the small washer. And the coin showing down. Last part is the nut. To be honest, this EDC system is kinda creepy to put back together, and especially this mounting area up there is just catastrophic. They did it on another way. They had some special tool to get it through the cable to hold this 10mm shaft, and after that they was able to tighten this to torque spec, but I'm curious if they have reached that torque spec that was made for this nut. And that's almost it. On the bottom you have right now this brand new boot, and you need to pull it over this area. This is the area that I'm talking about. You need to get this boot down there. And to do that properly, you need to do it from inside to the outside. You could just squish it from the outside, but after that you're gonna have some small holes in this area. It's not gonna look nice, but what you can maybe do is pull it down from the inside, like I'm doing that all the time, and it works. You do need some patience and time, but on the end it's working. So this is actually how this boot should look like when you pull it all the way down on that strap. And the final product. Driver's side inside. As you have seen, the shock is right now full with oil. All we need to do is to bleed this hose and to bleed the rest from the system that's gonna run from the pump all the way back here. And when you turn the pump, we are not gonna build too much pressure, but just enough pressure to get rid of that air, and after that to close this hose completely to make sure there is no more air inside of that system. For that I have disconnected fuel injectors. It means engine is not gonna start, but I'm gonna get fresh fluid here and you're gonna see bubbles coming out, and after I see no more bubbles I'm gonna put this hose down there and tighten it down, and we are ready to roll without any air in system. Ladies and gentlemen, you can see such a stuff only by me. Please crank the engine. No more bubbles. Keep going. Good. And with that small amount of pressure, it was enough to get rid of that air, and we are now completely air-free inside the system. Now I need to run the engine and to check that there are no more leaks. You are looking at original BMW part. I'm always curious about the quality because they are producing a lot of stuff in China. And when you buy a brand new part, there is a sticker on it, made in Germany, made in Poland, made in Hungary, made in Czechoslovakia, made in I don't know where in Europe, and sometimes it says made in China. Not always, sometimes. For this car I had only one part made in China, original from BMW. Why? The reason for that was the supply from original parts is not more available. They have transferred their factory in China, I don't know where, and of course to save on the costs, and they are producing parts there with the same quality.
We'll see about that. But at least all these suspension parts are still made in Europe. The same as this wishbone, it is still made in Germany. It should be no problems and no issues with this one. So, what I am thankfully doing already for years is I'm always opening this small rubber gasket here. And I'm checking the amount of that grease inside. As you can see, there is some grease inside. They have applied some, but it's not too much and it's also not too low. Let's use a bit more grease, because more grease in this area won't harm. And when this area gets really hot by braking, all this grease is gonna become almost liquid and it's gonna run in this ball joint down there. To get this spring correctly without damaging the rubber, go softly and easy on the edge, pull it with second finger in, just go all the way around. And to do this properly, I'm gonna do that on all 4 wishbones. These original parts are goddamn expensive, and let's make sure that these ones are fine. There is grease inside, it is not low, but a bit more again won't harm. Once I was so crazy and I installed grease points on my old 7 Series that I sold recently, because I didn't want to have bad suspension in 1 month or 10,000 kilometers. It was crazy, I know, but this suspension is still running, having 30,000 kilometers and no problems. Of course, I found out that some of these joints didn't have any grease inside. This is actually a first step to assembly the front axle. You want to make sure that this area is clean and does not have any grease on it, because when this one is tightened down and there is grease, you will never ever gonna get those parts disassembled again. So this is actually a first step to install, because you don't have access to these bolts to torque them down with a torque wrench as soon as you install this one on your strut. And do not use any impact tool on these screws, because when you turn this ball joint inside of there, you're gonna screw it. So don't use it, just tighten it to 93 Newton meters, like that. And now you need strong hands, and that's it. Yeah. Brand new screw, bit grease, again to prevent rusting. And of course, brand new nut. I'm not using a regular bushing on this one, I'm going with something better. And something better is this PowerFlex bushing, because those, they never go bad. They just last. And if you don't want to have such an aggressive suspension, you need to get yourself these ones called as Heritage Collection. Because this means this one is not hard, it is really soft. It means it is almost like a rubber, and it's gonna keep the same stiffness as the original rubber. But it's never gonna break down. When this control arm goes bad, you can still use this one again and keep it going, keep it going. And to keep them from making stupid noises, I'm using 2 different greases. The one that I got in the package and the second one made to prevent rust. But this one is not gonna rust, but that grease is gonna keep it quiet. It's never enough grease, trust me. Yeah. Yes. Oh yeah. Transmission. So this small plastic piece is available for the left side, and for the right side that was broken on this car was not available anymore to buy. Not from BMW, nowhere else, so I had to go with a used one, and I found one online. Thanks to that guy, he was willing to sell it for 10 euros and to ship it away. Sometimes it really means a lot. So the rear bushing is tightened to spec because it is polyurethane, and the front one is still the original rubber. It means we need to lift this one in the air and then tighten it down. But before we do that, we need to measure it to get the correct measurements. I'm gonna do that on the bottom, and after that gonna tighten it completely. And the time has come to install brand new ABS sensor, because this old one is falling apart. Rubber is broken on so many edges. We all know what happens when moisture gets in between those cables and it starts to make troubles. Thankfully the new ones are not that expensive, only 250 euros piece. These ones are gonna work properly. Yes. Make sure you don't have any metal shavings on this area. Enough, it's plastic. Brand new bracket for the lights, and again it's plastic, do not over tighten it. And the lower section, you just need to clip it in. Either you have strong fingers or you use some tool. Brand new wheel bearing, it is supposed to slide in easily. Yeah, almost there. And it's in. Wheel bearing in the front gets 290 Newton meters. That's enough. So, I don't have a special tool to clamp this nut together, but this one is the same as the factory, and no need to spend such a huge amount of money for some stupid tools all the time. Those brake rotors in the front are not new, and they have only 1000 kilometers driven. It means they are like new. And if these don't make any troubles later, they are gonna stay on the car, because they are brand new. I just painted them black to have the same match as in the back, and that's gonna be it. Brake caliper carrier. Small amount of grease right here and there. That's it, just pops in. When you install a brake hose, make sure you tighten it down first on a brake caliper and then after that on the chassis, because this is fixed position you're not able to change it right here or to turn it. First brake lines have never been changed. And on the end, make sure your wheel is pointing straight and make sure this line is sitting free and it's not kind of dead installed or dead to rub on the chassis. It needs to sit free and to swing all the way around here without touching anything. Chemicals. We had that in school. And before I install this plastic wheel housing, it is the time to change the bubbles right there, because the old ones are, I know my luck, they are working now, but as soon as I install all that back together, they won't work anymore. So, brand new bubble, because access later is stupid and it takes not even 1 minute to change it. The very next step to fix is gonna be this drive shaft. I have bought all original parts only for this one because this one is not available, and the reason for that is I have worn out rear CV joint, and this one in the front, the rubber, is already cracked in all the sides. This is, well, common problem, nothing serious. I do have a brand new bushing for the front in order to adjust it properly. Grease this one, and of course the rubber for the middle. This drive shaft didn't have any vibration problems, but this one in the back had a lot of play. That's the reason why I bought a new one, and I was trying to get it to the company to change all that and to do the balance on the whole thing. The issue is they wanted to fuck me up. They told me something about 1,300 euros to fix it, to change all that and to balance it. They said this one is 600 euros. Immediately I went on BMW site and I saw this one is available for 280 euros. Of course, I said go fuck yourself, and I decided to do that all by myself because this is not the first time I'm doing it. Right now it's the issue, the worn out CV joint and the front rubber, and I want to make sure that all of that is new, not worn out, and after that this drive shaft is gonna run as new again. Let's start in the front. So before you disassemble the front from the rear end of your drive shaft, make sure you make some lines in order to get it in the same position. Otherwise, you are gonna have huge vibrations. The reason for that is they have balanced it in one piece. They didn't balance the rear end and the front end. They did it together. It makes sense. Someone used plenty of Loctite. Jesus. Oh yeah, it was easy job. And in the same direction goes the new one in, but before we do that, a bit grease. Do not forget your distance ring. Back in place, small amount of grease. Trust me, you need a really small amount of grease. Do not put 10 kilos inside of it, no need for that. And the next step is the most important one. Just line it up and make sure you put these ones back together in the same line. Apply some Loctite on the screw. Torque spec for that bolt right there. Well, I have it, but it means nothing to me right now because they used to tighten those bolts when this was disassembled. It means they had a perfect access in the factory to tighten them down, and after that they have installed this joint. Not possible anymore, so use Loctite and do it with your hand. Okay. This is motherfucker tight right now. In order to get out that front bearing, you need this puller. It is again special tool. It is only possible to do it on that way.
Who needs special tools? Well, I need them sometimes. And suddenly magic happens. Well, of course I'm talking shit sometimes because I have already 3 beers. I had to cut this bearing a bit because I have tried everything. The puller, the big one. I also tried pneumatic puller and it didn't work. It just blow up the tool. It means, well, yeah, force. The new one is here, the same one. Make sure you leave 4 millimeters in the front in order to get it in the same place. And that will be it. The new CV joint is almost ready. What you need to do before you install it, you want to make sure you have applied enough grease inside of it. And the way I like to do it is I close that surface right there, and from this side I just pour a original BMW grease for it. And you want to make sure that this grease is coming out from this side. It means all the sides are covered in grease and all these bolts. What I like to add to these joints is transmission oil, Hippo-oil. A lot of guys from you mechanics have already seen that this grease gets old and gets dried out with the time. When that grease is dry and worn out, it's not gonna lube anymore as it should. And the reason for drying out is it's just chemical inside of that. Transmission oil will help you that this grease always stays like a grease. You don't need much from transmission oil, you just need a few drops, and that will be enough in order to keep this grease all the time fresh and look like new. But there is something else what you need to pay attention by assembly from all of that, and that will be at assembly. You will see right now on A50 that I bought a brand new drive shaft because it was available from dealer. They have used much more and it is kind of looking outside. I'm hoping that they have covered all that area in grease too. We'll see about that. Before you install a new CV joint, make sure you lube up this edge because this is a shaft area. Over this one you want to try to get that brand new rubber, and yes, this is a way how to prevent damage on that new rubber. And from the other side, use some socket in order to push it in. I'm using always this kind of band on this side in order to keep the grease coming out of that side, outside, in order to get those grease between those joints right there. Sometimes you should use hammer. This is the place where you need to use hammer. And yes, you are gonna have dirty hands after that. For the front rubber, you do have these arrows on it. This arrow needs to point to this mounting point where the screws goes in, and the same goes on this side. This one should point to the transmission. When you are about to tighten those screws down, you want to tighten over this bolt and not over this screw. The reason for that is if you tighten this screw down, you are gonna twist that metal bushing inside of it, and this one is gonna damage that rubber. If you go from that side and holding this still in one place, you're gonna tighten it down, and on that way you will prevent any damage. And that goes, of course, for transmission bolts too. So maybe you are wondering why this bottom looks so dirty right now. But there is a great reason for that. It is actually a wax made for these sheets, actually between the sheets, because if you look down there, I have applied in between the sheets. It means we all know the European cars, they have huge problems with the rust, and the reason for that is they have not been waxed from the factory from the inside. And I like to do it because rust-free car, you don't get them so often, and this will help to keep this car rust-free for many decades. And after you apply such a thing, you need to wipe it off because you don't want to leave it like that, looking ugly. And on the outside sheet, you need to apply another kind of wax because this one is made for inside and only between the layers, because this one is really thin and the outside one is thicker and it has some other compounds inside of it. And that's it. I'm gonna clean it up, but first, just let it drop off for one day maybe. But this is one and only way to prevent rust on these cars. So that area is clean right now. I have cleaned it up and I have applied a second layer of coat in order to keep it clean. This one is shiny. This one is not that brown because the brown one is used only for these shims between the layers, between those welds. It looks nice, it looks original. Right now it is the time to install drive shaft and all that other stuff. I'm using brand new self-securing screws in order to tighten these 3 screws from the drive shaft coupler. I'm gonna remove this bracket right here in order to reach those screws and to tighten them. Let's call that tight. 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 Transmission bracket back into place. 22 Newton meters. The correct way to tighten this middle bearing is to tighten it down with the fingers, these 2 screws. After that, mark the position where is it sitting right now. From that point, mark another 4 millimeters in the front way, and you need to pull it for 4 millimeters to the front, then tighten the screws. And that's the way how to get a bit pressure from that rubber bearing in there in order to keep that drive shaft running steady and without any vibrations.
There is still much more to do on this car, but right now it's gonna be end, because in the next episode there are so many other stuff to fix and to show you, so keep that on mind. So for the next episode there are gonna be some tricky stuff to fix, and of course a lot of tips and all that to help you build your car even better.
Maybe you remember these 2 screws were bent, thread was not in great shape, so it is the time to fix that too.
If you have any suggestions, make sure to write it down in the comments, because I really appreciate it and that helps us all. Thanks a lot for watching and supporting me, and as soon as I get my yard, trust me, I'm gonna prepare a meet for all of you. So don't forget to subscribe and to share this video, because that helps me to make even better videos. As promised, next video will be soon, so stay tuned.